Okay, hey everybody, I'm Mr. Green, and welcome back to my comprehensive review of Gundam Mercury Season 2. And this week we're on Episode 16, The Cycle of Sin. So yeah, if you guys are new to the channel, my name is Mr. Green, and this week I only need 436 watch hours to get monetized. Please, everyone help me out here. Statistically speaking, if my watch values remain the same for exactly 3 weeks, I'll be monetized then. But hey, if you guys could watch some of my other videos, that would help it happen a lot sooner. And please try to watch at least 3 of my other videos after this one, okay? I just reviewed the Variable Geo movie. No one remembers that. Anyway, if all my subscribers can at least watch 20 minutes of my videos today, that will hopefully be enough to get me monetized. And hopefully this video turns out to be over 20 minutes because this was a crazy episode. So yeah, the episode this week is called Cycle of Sin, and that is such a super happy title, isn't it? Now, as a mild palate cleanser in between the numerous dead children that Season 2 seems to be throwing at us, I think it might be a good week to do a meme roundup. If you're not familiar with Gundam Witcher Mercury meme roundup, I typically have it put usually on my other build guide videos, but lately I haven't been doing those because there's been like no other Gundam news to like justify it. So like if you want to check out another video of like stuff like Super Choo Choo or Suletta and Miorine sexy vacation photos, yeah, those are all in those other videos. But anyway, so this week, let's just keep it light. So a couple of silly memes popped up over this week, mostly involving Bob being force-fed from the last episode and various captions on that. Some cool bro over here had a 2D cardboard Miorine waifu, so he took her to the grocery store to buy tomatoes with him. That's funny. And my absolute favorite meme of the week is this prediction for what will occur in this episode, episode 16, the one we're about to watch. In this prediction, somehow someone predicted that Bob would stay the main character and that he would go right up to the Quiet Zero, confront Lady Prospera, only for then Lady Prospera to reveal that the Quiet Zero is actually, dun-dun-dun, the Devil Gundam, because G-Witch has always been a Stealth G Gundam sequel all along. Didn't you know that? Alright, anyway, let's get to the real episode now. So this episode starts off with a reprise of the scene from 2 episodes ago, where Belle asks Prospera, where the fuck is Eric Samaya? And Prospera unfortunately says that she's in the Gundam now, but this time around we see more of the scene focused on Prospera and Belle, and we get to see the whole scene and where it keeps going to. Now at this point, Prospera has been painted as a total monster who turned her daughter into a Gundam for some reason. But Prospera actually undercuts that by pointing out like, hey, did you know Eri was dying? And so she frames it as a dramatic mother's choice between having a Gundam daughter or no daughter at all. Of course, then Prospera proceeds to be a total monster by saying that actually nowadays Eri's body is entirely made of a permit, and if she was ever removed from the Gundam, she'd just disintegrate. Gross. Prospera then drops a final version of her master plan that she's planning to use the Quiet Zero to raise the permit score to 8, because if I'm following the logic of this, if she raises the permit score to 8, that would create enough permit in an area to allow Eri's permit body to reconstitute into a human body and allow her to get out of the Gundam. So that seems to be what she's up to, unless it's a lie, so who knows. Anyway, then she asks for Belle's help, but Belle says no because Prospera is doing creepy, unethical Frankenstein shit. And so Prospera flips the table on her, and she points out that Belle did all the same stuff when she worked at the Vanadis Institute, and the whole idea of enhancing a human through permit was her idea in the first place. Prospera then says that there's no escape for Belle, seemingly implying that if Prospera ever does face any kind of an ethics investigation, she's gonna just blame it all on Belle and says it was Belle's idea. Alright, cue the opening and back into the episode. So we start off with Space CNN telling us that Zanelli's been kidnapped by the Earth terrorists. Old Man Jaturk is dead, Delling Rembrandt not doing so good, and as a result, the Bender group has decided to crack down on the people of Earth, but in return, this crackdown is causing the Earth people to rise up against them, and yeah, now it's just almost a full-blown war from all the shenanigans in a high school. Laud and Neil thankfully survived the school shooting incident, and now Neil and Shadiq are sitting on the board, making it 2 young kids and a bunch of old ladies. Now, it's nice that there's some young kids on here, but the 4 old pale witches are still there. And they propose that since Delling Rembrandt's not coming back anytime soon, they need to elect a new president, because I guess they never had a vice president in this world. So, Shadiq goes back to his harem room, and one of the harem girls asks if Miorine will become the president because she's the current president's only living relative, and again, there's no vice president. Shadiq says that that could only possibly happen if one of the three major branches backed her, and she actively wanted to do it. But Shadiq doesn't like Miorine anymore, and he has his own plans for the presidency. Lotta Neal then talks to Miorine and informs her that, hey, there's a presidential election coming out, and she could easily get elected as the new president. And also, if all this happens, the somebody has to marry Miorine law would probably be abolished. Miorine does not seem to care about any of this, though. Then we have a shot set in space where this construction vehicle comes by, and it seems to be patching a hole in the colony. This is the hole in the colony that Sophie shot back in the school shooting incident. And then we see the school, and security is like massively increased. On top of that, the number of students there are kind of taking leaves of absences because the school shooting has apparently caused all the classes to come to a complete stop. Now, at this point, Cecilia and Roji have another scene together, and they discuss that they're still both at the school because they technically have nowhere to go, and also Miorine's birthday is coming up, and Cecilia really wants to see who Miorine's finally going to marry, because it seems that the Holder fight has been going on for quite a long time. Then we finally go back to Earth House, and we finally see Suletta for the first time in forever, and she's trying to stop Choo Choo, who's like gone insane, and she's trying to break Nika out of jail with a wrench. Apparently things are really awful in Earth House. All the kids got suspended for their potential involvement in the terrorist act. And on top of that, the aerial Gundam and Choo Choo's Demi have been confiscated. I'm guessing they were confiscated by the government for inspection or something like that. Anyway, they only have 2 days left until the suspension is over, but then outside a bunch of jerk kids appear, and they start to spray paint mean things onto the building. Martin tries to talk down to the angry kids, and points out that they don't have an evil Gundam, and they never knew that Sophie was a terrorist, so they were as surprised as everybody. But apparently one of the kids spray painting is friends with the guy Sophie randomly killed, so he ends up pegging Martin with a spray paint can. Now at this point, Miorine suavely comes back in the frame, and she takes a cell phone picture of Martin getting bent in the head, and she instantly uses it to blackmail those guys. That's all super dramatic. Now, surprisingly, one of Shadiq's harem girls fixed Nika up, and she looks a lot better, but they're still holding her hostage because she knows too much. Now, in probably what would be a cool moment, strangely, Shadiq's lead girl offers Nika to switch over to Grassley House and says it will help justify her life plans. Now, Nika says she can't live like a victim anymore, but the Shadiq harem girl says that a lot of the girls Shadiq brought over are living comfortably in space. And this is interesting because seemingly, I don't know how Nika's getting out of this, and them offering Nika a chance to join them is probably her only way out, but Nika doesn't seem to realize this. Because straight up Shadiq kidnapped his dad, who's a major government official. If he's willing to kidnap and imprison his dad, he could keep Nika indefinitely, because Nika could easily spill the beans on Shadiq's whole evil plan. So I think Nika doesn't realize that she can't get out of this unless she does join up with Shadiq. Anyway, there's no time for that because this is a super stuffed episode. Now at this point, Elon 5 starts to do some evil shit too. Apparently the Pale Witches are fed up with his clown-ass plan to seduce Suletta. And on top of that, he ended up looking really bad after the school shooting incident, since he mostly tried to save his own ass. So now the old ladies have decided that they want him to steal the aerial Gundam somehow. And they think it's a good opportunity to do it because it was just confiscated by the government. Then we go back to Shadiq. Shadiq is in a spaceport, I guess, and he's meeting with some people from Grassley. The Grassley people tell him that his dad was kidnapped. It split the company into 6 different factions, and Shadiq's faction is technically the weakest because he's a kid. Then Bob comes back at this moment. Bob arrives at the same spaceport Shadiq is in, and Bob goes directly to the Jaturk House office, which shocks Lotta Neal and honestly makes him so happy that he faints. Apparently, Lotta has been really overstressed with the avalanche of work and responsibility since his dad died, plus the life life-threatening injury he suffered in the school shooting. So yeah, Lada's just super, super relieved that Gul Jaturk is back, and I imagine that since Lada's in charge, Gul Jaturk will get his life back. Then we go back to Miorine. Miorine finally figures out that Nika's been kidnapped because no one else gave a shit about this girl. And then I believe Miorine calls up the smugglers who tried to help her escape in episode 2. Now, what's weird is they in turn ask her for free reign over the Gundam company, which is a weird thing to ask for because they definitely have an ulterior motive. So yeah, then the shot switches and it's the Fat Lady again. Fat Lady says they're mediators for the Space Management Group, and they need to investigate the Gundam company because it makes no sense that there's been such a huge investment put into them when they're kids, and then the whole mystery of how this Gundam company was also at the Plant Quetta incident. They're upgrading the aerial and why the aerial Gundam's upgrades cost so much. Now, it sounds like potentially the Space Management Mediators, they might somehow be beyond the Benerit Group in terms of their political power. At least from the way the Fat Lady's phrasing things, it seems like they can potentially put the Benerit Group in check somehow. Anyway, Miorine then comes back and she tells the other kids that she couldn't find Nika, she has no idea where she is, but she's going to have these mediators look for her. Choo-Choo accepts this surprisingly well when most of the other kids don't. Then, since Miorine is back, everyone informs her that the company's been losing money, and since it's been shut down for a few weeks, it's just incurred a bunch of bills, and Miorine has to pay all the bills. Now, Suletta is just standing in the back of the room, completely fear-struck about whether or not she still has a relationship with Miorine. So the guy next to her forces her to speak up, and Suletta just cowardly asks Miorine to come talk to her at the greenhouse. Now, Miorine seems to be taking charge to have a dramatic talk with Suletta, where it either goes that Suletta is forgiven because she saved her life, or she's gonna tell Suletta that she hates her because she's a ruthless, murdering, Solid Snake Gundam pilot. But before any of that can fucking go down, fucking Prospera shows up, and she's making a house call. Oh no! This cannot be good. It's way too micromanagey. Also, this is the first time a majority of the kids have even seen her, and like, come on, she's wearing a mask. She's suspicious. Now, Prospera says that at this time, the police questioning her have finally stopped. So this is the first time she's come to see Suletta since the Plant Quetta incident because she was worried about her. But then Prospera tells Suletta that she needs to protect her bride, and once again, seemingly her telling this to Suletta like reprograms Suletta again, and it washes away all the previous fear of relationship trauma that Suletta had. And now Suletta's just like, yep, I gotta protect Miorine, let's go. And then Suletta and Miorine awkwardly leave Prospera alone with the other kids, where Prospera acts way too bizarrely normal for a very unsettling moment. Now, once again, so much is going down this episode. At this point, Elan 5 tries to steal the aerial Gundam, so he tries to turn it on with his cell phone. He wakes it up, but then Elan 5 immediately gets hit with a boiling hot permanent data storm. And immediately he sees Aerie and the 12 other Aeries. And why the fuck are there other Aeries? Why? Are they clones? Are they ghosts? Are they copies? Anyway, the main Aerie comes down from heaven and flicks Elan in the head. And he almost seems to die as the permit boils through his body. So he just ejects the fuck out of there, because Elan 5 seems to be established as a cowardly survivor kind of guy who's fundamentally trying to just save his own ass. Now, he gets yelled at by Belle. Belle might have been helping him, but no, actually. She just caught him in the act, so he asked for her help. But Belle is still in the middle of having this nervous breakdown from figuring out that Aerie is Ariel, and so Elan 5 gets completely fed up with her trauma, and he just punches her in the face. Now, this is a major feat, but Elan 5 is fucking pissed with her because he's a fucking human experiment, and all Belle seems to care about is saving her own skin. But at the same time, that's all Elan 5 cares about. That's why he sold his soul to become a human experiment. And Elan 5 just leaves and he's like, I'm gonna tell on you! So yeah, that's where that ends. Anyway, then finally we go back to Miorine and Suletta, and I've been dying to see this since the start of the season. So Miorine and Suletta finally go back to the Tomato House where their relationship is finally going to decompress, and Miorine reveals Suletta's been fucking freak stalkering her, sending fucking 3 emails to her email a day. And Miorine didn't respond to any of them. Now, Suletta asks Miorine if she's mad, but Miorine just is like, no, Suletta, you should be the mad one, because Miorine listened to Prospera, and now she feels bad, so things worked out well, I guess. I guess they're going to get back together. Except then Suletta says that this is exactly what her mom said would happen, and Miorine fucking loses it, because Miorine realizes she has just been played like a fiddle. Suletta says, with her typical Season 1 life philosophy, that moving forward gained her 2 points in life. But Miorine is just processing all this, and her brain is in like absolute fuck mode, and she's about to go off, because then she remembers that Suletta smashed a fucking person to death. And Suletta apparently does, or the hell her mom tells her to do. So Miorine just poses the old, well, if your mom told you to jump off a bridge, would you do it? That old question at her. And Suletta's like, well, I suppose I would reluctantly. And Miorine just like freaks the fuck out. She checks where Suletta's goals are at. She asks if Suletta would become a killer if her mom asked her to kill everyone. And Suletta once again says yes. And oh, this scene is so fucking deep. Miorine realizes here that something is very, very wrong with Suletta. Suletta is literally incapable of disobeying her mom. So at this point, I've got to rule out deep level braining watching, because my only guess here at this point is Suletta is a robot. This whole show has been a massive old switcheroo. You thought Eri was Suletta? No, Eri is Ariel. You thought the Gundam was the robot? No, Suletta is the robot. And on top of that, yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, Suletta keeps going on about how great her mom is, and Miorine becomes more and more pissed and disgusted, because Miorine's heart is kind of breaking here, because she's realizing that Suletta has no free will. So she just runs off without continuing the conversation. And damn it, Miorine, what the hell? So then we're at the dock, and at the dock, Prospera actually seems sad, and she actually seems like she really is just planning to use Quiet Zero to get Eri out of the Gundam. But holy shit, here comes Miorine, and Miorine is pissed. She grabs Prospera by the neck, and she asks her what the hell she's doing to Suletta. She asks why Suletta is a puppet, and Prospera just downplays and is like, Suletta is a good girl. And then somehow the topic changes, and then Prospera changes the topic because she doesn't want to talk about Suletta. She talks about Miorine's freaking dad, and Prospera's like, your father is the object of my family's revenge. And Prospera gets all into like her dramatic backstory that 21 years ago, Delling Rembrandt killed her husband, killed her co-workers, and he used a whole witch hunt story to justify that he was a mass murderer. And only Eri and Prospera escape, but sorta not really, because now one of them's a Gundam and one of them has to wear a mask. And Prospera gets really super creepy at this point, and she grabs Miorine by the ear and whispers into her ear that she hears the dead co-workers begging her every day to kill Delling Rembrandt. And Miorine is just like so full of fuck right now, and it's like, and then she's just like having a character moment, and she's just like, you know what, Prospera, fine then. If my dad's so shitty, then you fucking kill him. Just leave me and Suletta out of it. But then in a weird hook, Prospera comes back, and she's like, Miorine, you gotta help me build the Quiet Zero, because apparently when Delling stops being president, all his plans and policies will be nullified unless the new president chooses to keep them going. So Prospera then points at Miorine with super Char energy and tells her that she has to become the president now. And Miorine says she can't do that. And Prospera's like, you've got to do it because you're Delling's bloodstained daughter. And that fucking bitch completely flipped the script and avoiding talking about Suletta at all. Oh, goddamn her. Oh, wow. Goddamn. I am not sure what to take away from this. Wow, I got to figure this out. Okay. Suletta Mercury is majorly in trouble after this episode. There are like 3 ways this could go, and neither of them are good. Alright, who the hell is Suletta Mercury? Up till now, my first scenario was Suletta was a heavily brainwashed clone of Eri. Because up in this point, I thought that's what we were dealing with. We were dealing with clones. Suletta was some kind of a do-over Eri because Eri died. And at the same time, she was brainwashed to carry out Prospera's revenge scheme. But this series has never mentioned clones at all. We're all just assuming clones because of Puru from Double Zeta. Oh, hey Puru, what are you doing at this school? You don't go to this school. Get out of here, fucking Puru. But yeah, okay, this episode, for the first time, they showed all these other Aries in the cyberspace. But at the same time, they clarified that Eri is just some permit data at this point. So It sounds really creepy, but if I'm following this right, I'm guessing that deep inside the aerial Gundam is like a fully mummified baby Eri corpse at this point. And it sounds like somehow her consciousness moved on to the permit inside her, while her physical body and organs died, similar to what happened to Sophie in the last episode, but in Eri's case, her soul somehow like bonded with the permit. So there's another huge question I have to ask right now, and that's whether or not there are 12 different Aries for each of the little bits. Because this scene can be interpreted in so many different ways. The obvious interpretation is that Prospera's just been cloning Eri, but again, that's an assumption. We don't know that cloning technology even exists in this universe. It's more likely that the Eri inside the Aerial can duplicate her consciousness, kind of like shadow clones in Naruto, but if that's just a possibility. Another possibility is that since she's been entirely digitized, it's also possible that her consciousness could have just been duplicated 12 times, like copying a file on a computer. But that's all just assuming that Suletta is a clone of Eri. Another possibility is she might not be a clone, but maybe she's just Prospera's additional biological daughter. Now, some people have thrown this theory out though, but I completely doubt it though, because Suletta still has her dad's raccoon eyebrows. And the only way she could have got that is from her dad, who died in the witch hunt 5 years ago. 5 years before Suletta was born, which means that the only way she can be her dad's daughter is if she's either a clone or potentially she could be a test tube baby like Quattro from Gundam Wing, but that's another far off theory. What keeps getting to me though is that Prospera seems to be completely in love with baby Eri in the Aerial, and at the same time she doesn't seem to give a shit about Suletta. Half the time she won't even talk about Suletta if someone asks her to talk about Suletta. So there's a chance I'm reading this wrong and it's just Prospera's urgency to save Eri, but she really doesn't seem to give a shit about Suletta. Maybe that's because Suletta is living her best life at the school and Eri is stuck in the Gundam, and like, you know, that's like a whole like one is in trouble, one is fine situation. But for me, I'm officially down with the Suletta is a robot theory, because here's what I think, guys. So I think this show has been doing a massive bamboozle on us. Remember the time we saw a robot and a human dancing together in that viral video? And that was a whole big thing. I think we were all fooled. I think that since we now know the aerial Gundam is Eri, I think Suletta might be a robot. I think this is a full... They flipped the script and they inverted the typical Gundam format. Whereas typically, Gundam is a show where a giant robot is piloted by a human. I think in this show, a giant human is being piloted by a small, not so interesting robot. And that would explain why Suletta has been fully unaffected by permit in this show. Because seemingly when Elan 4 piloted the aerial Gundam for just a few minutes, he had the full permit going. So, like, there was also that line in episode 14 about what the hell Suletta was. Noria mentioned it, that permit wasn't affecting her. That was really strange, because permit seems to affect anyone who gets into a Gundam in this series. So I think combined with that, and like Aso, you guys remember Aso in season 2? The time she rescued Nika and she had like robot style super strength and super speed because Nika's got to weigh like a good 100 pounds at least. You can blame it on the adrenaline, but this also screams Suletta is a robot with super strength. But yeah, so like the evidence is adding up here. Like, this is the first time we're really seeing heavy hints that Suletta could be a robot, because she obviously can't violate her programming or her prime directives, which is just do everything Prospera says. And in this episode, it gets really horrible because Miorine realizes that something is wrong with Suletta. Prospera just didn't tell her what, though, because again, Prospera like completely like deflected the question and was like back on the Quiet Zero thing. Now, at the same time, I think the next episode, like maybe Miorine will like fight back again, because that's kind of what they've been doing to like keep the drama up. But I don't know, like this whole episode, like the whole conversation between Miorine and Suletta at the Tomato House, that felt to me like a girl suddenly realizing that her girlfriend was a ChatGPT dating bot, and realizing for the first time that their relationship isn't what she thought it is. So that's where I gotta be for this week. I'm officially believing until I see clear evidence otherwise that Suletta and Mercury is a goddamn robot. Also on my second watch, I caught that Prospera seems to know that Belle has been making copies of Elon. And also I noticed there's a hilarious scene where when Miorine checks out her phone, you can actually see all the emails from Suletta that she has been answering. Oh God. It looks like she's been sending her a good morning email like every day. And then otherwise it's just her progress at school and like taking care of Miorine's stuff, which she has been doing for a while. Anyway, leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. Do you think Suletta is a robot? Can you think of any other logical explanation for why she will like just follow Prospera's every word to the grave, and why she seemingly can't obey Prospera, and why Prospera doesn't seem to give a shit about Suletta? And yeah, drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Thanks everybody. Please subscribe. Please watch like 2 more of my videos. I'm only 400 hours away from getting monetized, and I can do that in the next couple weeks if you guys stay with me. Thank you so much. Good night.